So I'm going to review every Mission Impossible film. This video is going to be split into two. This is part 1, which will cover films 1 to 4. Part 2 will cover films 5 to 8. Be prepared, there will be spoilers for all the films in both parts. Anyways, let's get started with the first Mission Impossible. I'll start by saying I'd give this film a 7 out of 10. The first thing I want to talk about is how the film is so iconic and started this amazing franchise. I mean, while this film isn't my favorite in the franchise, I owe it this film for allowing some of the amazing films after it. The next positive I have about this film is the heist scene. It is one of the most iconic scenes in cinema, and for a reason. The scene had me and other audiences on the edge of our seats with this scene. Now moving on to the negatives I have with this film. First of all, I feel the pacing is quite slow compared to later films such as Fallout. My other issue with the film is that I feel the characters are quite forgettable. I'm not talking about Ethan and Luther as they're in all 8 films, so it's hard to forget them. The only other characters I remember from the film are Jim Phelps and William Dunlow. And to be honest, the only reason I remember Dunlow's name is because of his return in The Final Reckoning. Next up is Mission Impossible 2, which I'd give a 6 out of 10. The film is quite forgettable and slow-paced. The thing I do like about the film is the opening scene, as it keeps you on edge of to whether he's going to fall off or not. Except for the fact it's the opening scene, so there are no stakes, but it's still a cool opening scene. Now onto the negatives, it's quite cheesy.
That is way too cheesy.
I mean, everything between Ethan and Nia's romance is cheesy, and the slow-mo fight scenes don't really help, as it makes the action look less impressive and cheesy instead. Like Mission Impossible 1, the only characters from this film we see again are Ethan and Luther. It also doesn't help that this film is irrelevant, as it's the only film that doesn't link up with other films. Moving on to Mission Impossible 3, which I give a 7 out of 10. Now I'm going to be honest, it's been a while since I've seen this film, so I might have forgotten something. Let's talk about the positives. The villain, Owen Davian, is good and more understandable than the previous villains. I also like how this film focuses more on Ethan's personal life than the previous 2 installments. In this film, we are also introduced to one of the best characters, Benji Dunn, who is in every film from here on out. We also meet Julia, Ethan's wife, who appears again in Ghost Protocol and Fallout. However, like the other 2 films, we end forgetting all of the other characters, never to be seen again. Another issue I have with this film is that the reason I've never rewatched it is because it's quite forgettable compared to future films. However, this film is an improvement from the previous installment. Now we're on to the final film for part 1, Ghost Protocol, which I give a 9 out of 10. For me, this is where I started to see Mission Impossible become one of my favorite franchises. That is because there is so much great about this film. The Burj Khalifa stunt is when we started to see just how crazy Tom Cruise is for doing stunts. Another thing great about this film is the chemistry of the team. I mean, the character development and humor made this group of characters likable, which is why we see Simon Pegg become significant in the franchise and Jeremy Renner return in Rogue Nation. I feel the character development was great, as we learn a lot about each character and what they've gone through. I was also happy with the pacing of the film. It felt just the right length and moving at the right speed, unlike the 3 films before it. However, the reason it's not a 10 is because of the villain. I mean, I can't even remember his name. Well, actually, I do, because I'm a Mission Impossible nerd, but I doubt the regular viewer remembers his name. His name is Kurt Hendricks, if you're wondering. Not that it's Ghost Protocol's fault, but it was sad we didn't see Aaron Carter again, as the team had great chemistry. But anyways, I prefer Ilsa Faust, as we got to learn more about her. That's the end of part 1. I hope you enjoyed it and stay tuned for part 2. This video will end in 5 seconds.